Do people really want honest feedback? Or do they want feedback that they agree with? Most of us have two competing motives. We have a self-improvement motive, tell me what I need to know so I can get better, and a self-protection motive. But please don't tell me something that fundamentally challenges how I see myself. This week on Straight Up Talk with Sharon and Pete, we are talking about feedback. I'm Sharon.
And I'm Pete Johnson.
Hello, Pete Johnson.
Hello, Sharon Jones.
So feedback is a very relevant topic for me just now.
For you in particular,
yeah. Because I just finished this project where I had a group of senior leaders and they'd been through a 360. So if anybody doesn't know what a 360 is, it's one of those situations where if you're a manager or a leader, people get asked, because very often to give direct feedback to your manager can be a bit threatening. You're concerned about what can happen. And I'm going to talk about what happens hierarchically anyway when people get higher up in organizations. But for a manager to go up to somebody and say, hey, tell me what I'm good about, when you're the person working for them, can be a bit challenging because you don't know if you say something they disagree with, are you going to get fired? So a 360 is a way of collecting feedback from a group of people, and it's usually something like you need a minimum of like 6 or 7 people to give feedback because they're aggregating all the scores together. So you want a cross mix of people. If you're a manager, then you might want a couple of peers, so people at your level.
Yeah.
You would have your manager giving feedback, and you would also have a couple of your team giving feedback, however many people you have on your team, and maybe a customer as well.
That's how it works. I didn't know that.
Well, there you go. You learned something new.
Yeah.
So everybody gets the same survey, and there are all these different questions and all these different competencies where people are asked to rank this person against their perception of the ability. And then when you get the results of those, you look through it, and what you're looking for is what are the themes, because there's also a place for quantitative. There's qualitative and quantitative feedback. There's space at the end where they ask you, give us 2 strengths, give us 2 challenge areas, and be specific. So rather than saying like, this person is a great manager, that's useless information. You want information that you can do something with.
Yeah.
This is a good manager because
their strengths are.
Yes, their strengths are. They do what they say they're going to do. They listen to me, etc. But the challenge comes in sometimes in how do you put it if there's something negative. And it's anonymized, which helps protect the people who have given that feedback, because that's the whole point of it. What's interesting when I'm sitting down, though, with people going through, the very first time I did this was years back when I was part of that very small advertising agency, Junction 22 in England. And the managing director, he wanted a 360 feedback that I conducted. And I sat down and I started giving him the feedback and some of the comments. And he's like, who said that? Who said that? I said, no.
Right,
this is not a witch hunt.
Didn't grasp them, eh?
Well, and that's what most people are afraid of.
Yeah.
They don't want the manager coming in and saying, you said this about me. That's the most terrifying option ever. Yeah. The theory is that you look for themes, right? You look to see, am I, and the feedback sessions that I just did, fascinating, because you rate yourself against all these competencies and everybody else rates you as well. Usually, whenever I've done these, there is some areas where you may mark yourself a little bit higher, some areas where others mark you a little bit higher. This last group that I did, the leader of the group marked himself higher in ability across all measures.
I bet he did.
Than anybody else on his team. And the funny thing was, when I sat with him and I said, because obviously they get a copy of the report first, I said, did anything in your report surprise you? And he said, not really. And I thought that was a surprise to begin with. So I said, what did you think about the fact that you ranked yourself considerably higher than everybody else around you? He said, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, at least he owned it.
But the interesting thing was, because as you know, I'm direct. I'm not easily intimidated by people. So by the end of the conversation, his demeanour had somewhat shifted.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Because I'd done it in a respectful way, and he even sent me an email to thank me for the conversation, which was nice. But I'm going to ask you a question specifically.
Oh, here we go.
And that question is, if somebody says to you, "Be honest with me, tell me what you really think," what do you normally do?
Well, my first thought is they probably want to hear all positive stuff about them. You know, if they're asking me for their opinion of something, I would imagine they want me to be as positive, you know.
But that's not where you normally go.
No, I don't normally go there, but I'm just saying, like, that's what they want me. That's the response they're looking for. If someone asks you, like, what you think of so-and-so or that, you know, say you stay at a hotel and the management comes up to you and says to you, "Did you enjoy your stay?" I mean, take that place we stayed at last year in Toronto, that Chelsea hotel place.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't a great stay. The lights weren't working. The shower was rubbish. Toilet didn't flush properly. The bar service was awful. So I let them know the next morning.
Well, it was $500 plus a night.
$550.
Which was crazy.
Including a sport tax, by the way. So I don't want to slam the one hotel, but, you know, who puts on a sport tax in the middle of Toronto? But anyway, there you go. But they didn't want to hear what I had to say. So she kind of like switched off. As soon as I started mentioning all these things that weren't great, she kind of like, "Okay, well, thanks a lot. And, you know, hope to see you again." Yeah, no.
So, but if somebody said to you, like if I were to say to you, "I want you to be completely honest with me," would you be completely honest with me?
No.
Yes, you would.
No, I wouldn't.
You would.
Well, if it's you, yeah.
That's what I just asked you, Donut.
I thought you were going back to the hotel.
No. Well, even then. Even then you would be. If I asked you are nothing but no filter.
I know, yeah.
So
like my mother, you see, my mother was like that.
So if somebody were to, if I were to say to you, "I want you to be completely honest with me," you would be completely honest with me, without a doubt. But what can happen when people say that, "I want you to be completely honest"?
They don't want you to be completely honest.
Right.
Yeah.
They can spend the next 10 minutes explaining why you're wrong.
Right, yeah.
So there's research around feedback-seeking behaviour that shows that people actively seek feedback when the expected value outweighs the psychological cost. We want useful information, but we also want to manage our ego, our reputation, and our uncertainty. So if people do hear something that's not aligned, because asking for feedback doesn't necessarily mean that we're ready to hear the answer.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and I think there's a distinction as well between feedback about what I did versus who I am. It could be, for example, we can sometimes interpret other people's behaviour, but we interpret it wrong because we judge ourselves and our intentions and we judge others on their behaviour.
Right.
So let's imagine we're sitting at a table, and just like the other night we're out for dinner, that guy comes over and just interrupts us, doesn't he? So, and you got rid of him immediately. You went straight into it. But if you're having a conversation with that guy later, you might say to him, "You were very rude when you interrupted us. That's your interpretation of his behaviour." And he would say, "No, I wasn't." Now you're arguing about the intent.
Right, yeah.
Because his intent wasn't to be rude. So a better way of giving feedback is actually to focus on the behaviour, on what the person did. It takes it away from the personal. So if you said something like, "When you came over to our table and wanted our attention," so it sounds a lot softer, of course. You interrupted us when we were eating.
Yeah.
He can't dispute that because that's fact. So when you say things, "You interrupted us," that's fact. You are being rude is interpretation of their intention.
Gotcha.
So that's why when we want to give feedback, we need to focus on the thing that the person has done and not the person.
The facts,
not the person themselves. So, and what's interesting about in an organisation is the higher up the ladder people go, the less feedback they get but the more candid feedback they need. And I've seen this because I've been working with organisations for years and years and years. And I always see this. And I see it in rooms where the leader has got really bad behaviours, but nobody is addressing them.
They don't want to pick up on it, yeah.
Because they're concerned about what's going to happen. So even when the leader says, my door's always open, come and give me honest feedback. If the first time somebody ever did that, they get shut down, nobody's ever going to do it again. So the thing about feedback is to listen for themes. And I'm a big advocate for finding out. When I did this exercise myself several years ago, because I got the feedback, I used to describe myself as being diplomatic.
Oh, blimey.
I know, which is kind of funny. But that's because I was unself-aware. And then after I'd been VP, I decided to ask for feedback. And I asked a couple of people, and I got the feedback that I was intimidating and aggressive. And my first instinct...
Scary is another word. You should have been called Mary, Scary Mary.
I don't scare you. But my first instinct when someone said, you can be aggressive, was to go, no, no.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Whack.
But that's what happens is when we hear something we don't like, we instinctively want to defend ourselves. And we go, well, and we try to justify it.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that we're asking people for their perspective. So instead, I said, and I've taught myself to say this, oh, that's interesting. Can you tell me a bit more about how that...
tell me more.
How that was for you? Turns out the intimidating bit, I mean, I don't get up in the morning going, yes, I'm going to be intimidating and aggressive today. But I'm confident in life in general about most things. But I'm also confident when I don't know something.
You just waffle, don't you, normally?
No, I don't. Cheeky. I admit when I don't know something and I say, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I have to go and find out.
I'll get back to you.
I don't.
You taught me that one as well. It's always it saves your face a lot of time. I'll get back to you on that.
But make sure that you do, of course. You say to the person, okay, and I always say, great question. I don't know the answer. I'll find out and I'll get back to you by X date. And I think the interesting part is that when I was asking, and I was trying to be very gentle, I suppose, because this person, very different profile for me, was not a confident person. And they said, well, because you're so confident. And I can't really help that.
No.
I can't help that. So I can't control how other people perceive me. I can control how I show up.
Right.
So I asked for more information, and it became clear it was about a situation where I had confidently challenged somebody else, and they perceived it as being intimidating. Well, obviously, okay, that wasn't my intention. Duly noted to be more aware about how I show up in those situations. But go ahead.
Carry on.
What I was going to say is feedback is usually received quite well by people who've played competitive sports in their youth because they're used to being coached.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And good coaches say, the way you're hitting that ball is not getting, you need to do this, do
Play
that.
the pass earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but people, and there's a gender difference because women can face like a competency or likability tension. Behaviours associated with authority, assertiveness and leadership may improve perceptions of competence, but also may carry social penalties because it devalues, this is a woman. And, I don't care. I really don't. But research on workplace evaluations has found differences in the language used about men and women, including women receive more personality-oriented feedback, whereas men receive more task-related or developmental feedback. So there's lots of things to consider, but the most important thing is the relationship matters, because people don't care what you know unless they know how much you care.
Okay.
So if a manager gives you some feedback, and if you don't have a good relationship with them, you're not going to take it. Whereas if you believe that this person knows me, they want me to succeed, they're competent to judge this, you're going to treat me fairly, they're more likely to receive it.
Yeah.
And of course, people can often also receive positive feedback in a bad way or not accept it, which is weird. But they can often give an excuse for positive feedback. When you say, you did that really well, you had this impact, this was the effect, excellent. And the person might say, oh, no, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I try to say, accept it. This is people's perceptions of you and your skill set.
That's interesting.
Because oftentimes people don't have the confidence to know what they're capable of.
So if someone praises you for, say, you just drew a lovely picture or something, and they say, that's really good, even though it's not very good, how do you take it?
Well, that's different, because that's not being truthful.
Right.
If somebody's drawn a picture and it is good, and you tell them that's really good, and they
What about me when I'm playing a song when I've had a few beers? You say to me, you just covered, that was a great cover of the, song.
No, I tell you that you need to learn the whole song all the way through, because you don't. You sing the first few lines and then you filter out.
Then I whistle.
And then you whistle. But anyway, to get back to what you just asked me, if someone's done a good picture and it is good, and you say that's a really good picture, and they go, oh, no, it isn't, it's just a scribble, that's someone who's got not much belief in their own abilities. Right. So we can't force them to accept their own abilities, but what I can do is say, this is other people's perspective, say thank you. Even if you don't agree with it eternally, but accept it, that's their perspective. It's the same with negative feedback as well.
Yeah.
When you hear something about yourself, always ask for more information. Can you tell me a bit more about that? How does it show up for you? And then always thank them. Don't defend, because you're going to want to jump in and defend yourself. But think about, is that true in all situations?
Stick to the facts.
Stick to the facts.
Yeah.
I think we've been waffling on, or more to the point, I've been waffling on for a long time. So
you never let me give my an opportunity to tell you my one and only time I was asked to give feedback.
Go on then.
The employment agency, when I was really busy, I used to use, they're probably out of business now, Plan Personnel. I think that was based in London. And they used to send you a sheet of paper with questions on about staff you'd recently hired.
Okay.
And I never used to fill it in. I thought, I can't be bothered, I haven't got the time for this. But on a couple of occasions I did. And sometimes if the guy was really good, he turned up on time, he looked smart, presentable, he was able to do the load trucks, unload trucks, didn't smoke, was a big thing for me.
Right.
I would give really good feedback. And there was a few times when obviously I told you about the guy that only lasted 27 minutes. He didn't get good feedback, and they hated it. They wrote me another letter saying, "Oh, this is, it's not very good."
Right.
That was it. So I thought that was interesting. I thought I should add that to the story.
Yeah. So they wanted you to change your feedback.
Yes, because this guy had been employed in various roles, but he wasn't suited to removals.
Right.
He was probably a great guy who can sit at a desk and answer the phone, and I don't know.
Anything
or use the photocopier, or count the paper clips on the desk.
He could be in charge of the paper clips.
In charge of the paper clips, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
No
My
problem.
apologies for not asking you.
No
this
worries.
Podcast will be thoughtfully produced by the Isle of Sound. It is good night from me.
And it's good night for me.
Good night.
Good night.